Greetings, wrestling fans, and welcome to Squared Circle Society. I'm Flesh Wound Dan, joined by producer Todd.
Good evening.
Coming through loud and clear like a sunny queef, Todd. How are you doing today?
Not even 3 minutes in.
Queef is okay.
Well, whatever female audience we had just left.
Ladies, are you offended by queef? That's not a
that's one of those words that a lot go like the other trigger word, the C one.
That I didn't drop the C bomb.
No. But I'm saying that's when a lot of them. It's up there with moist. Some people are weird about that.
I'll say moist as much as I want. Why? That's a good thing. If you're making a girl moist, that is a good thing.
No. I'm not saying some people are just repulsed by the word.
Well, they shouldn't be. I'm going to work moist in tonight a lot. But, Todd, how have you been this week?
Busy.
No, busy, but good busy, hopefully.
Busy.
Been up to some cool projects, so you've been having a good week. And I've been having a good week because Dark Side of the Ring is back. So we didn't have any last year, right? Because it seemed like it was just done, and they were doing all the A&E decks and all that stuff.
Well, they weren't doing the A&E.
Well, WWE was doing that shit, which was like kind of, I guess, supposed to be the replacement, but it wasn't.
Well, no. The A&E stuff's separate. Totally, that's different. Tales from the Territory is what.
There you go. Sorry.
Well, because there are also the A&E things. Those are different. The biographies they've been doing for a couple years. But the Tales from the Territory one. Actually, I don't think if it wasn't for that, we probably wouldn't have got a season 4, because they said that working on that is what made them want to do more Dark Side of the Ring, because I think they were done after the last season. So, and they said that's kind of like where there is kind of a little bit more of territory stuff in this season, because that really like rejuvenated their love of the sport. Mm-hmm. So, okay, Cliff, I'm just going to say right now, Frizuka has not had moist anything in about, she's talking about bone dry. Sorry.
Just moist. She likes guys with hats, I hear, so, and beards. But damn, Cliff. God.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I know. I was totally talking about, like, on topic for once.
Yes.
Cliff derailed me. God damn it, Cliff. What was I saying?
You were just talking about the Tales from the Territories.
And which is another Vice show, which I did really enjoy, but that one was in, with WWE, so it was a little, or was it $7 entertainment, the Rock's company, but there was that association, so it was a little bit more, let's say mainstream, but a little more accepted, because I know a lot of people kind of look down on Dark Side.
Because it's the best of the bunch. I mean, you give me like something like with WWE involved, I know I'm not really going to hear anything particular.
The Tales from the Territory stories, they pretty much, it wasn't, but they also didn't cover like Snuka, killing,
No, and they're not gonna cover the Memphis underage girls controversy. Right. They're definitely gonna treat it with kid gloves because they're working with them. So it's not as interesting. I watched, I think, 1, maybe 2, I think a couple things, and I just
really. And you didn't that first episode, maybe you have to be in the business. I don't. Never mind.
I can't.
It literally, like every promoter in the fucking world, go watch Tales from the Territory, episode 1.
I don't think I saw 1. I saw 1 in the middle that I just happened.
No,
I don't even remember. I was just kind of like,
There was only one episode I was kind of on. It'll probably be that one. But no, that first episode, if you haven't watched that and you're in the business and you're not taking notes during that episode, you're doing it wrong.
Oh, well, shit. Now I got to go and check it out. You make it sound interesting.
Oh, yeah. That first one. Honestly, it might have been the one that should have been the finale, but that. Was it the Mid-South one?
Company fluff pieces now. It's just like that doesn't do anything for me.
They're not that they're not going to cover that, but they're still covering stories that they wouldn't do on the network.
Okay. A
Yeah.
little bit more,
Yeah.
a little bit more.
We're not going full dark side. I mean, but I haven't seen anything that was like the Jeff Jarrett episode. That was awesome. I think that might have been the first one because it was the Jarretts and the King. So that had to been Memphis.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of shit I bet they left out of the Memphis
Oh,
one.
yeah, there's a lot of shit off everything, but I mean, it's still.
Yeah, I might check out some of it. I was just kind of like, this is no replacement. Swaggy, if you're a Sunny fan, you may you may not be too happy with this episode, but
excuse me, I will be standing up for all the Sunny fans since Pugs can't be here either.
You can be a fan.
Well, I'm just gonna go before you even read it, Dan. I'm just gonna say he's not gonna do it because Dan always is big talk that never follows through. What does it say, Dan, from Off the Grill podcast?
My buddy Steak Sauce wants me to cut off my manhood and infiltrate Sonny's prison, but then that kind of defeat the self-defeating, though.
Dan, I don't see. Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, you don't have to.
I'd probably be fucking hot, but I'm just saying it. Just
I had to get rid of Dan for that bullshit. What the hell was that? Sorry.
God damn. Now you got it out of position, Todd.
I know, and it's going to bother people, so there you go.
There you go. Yeah, I all right. But
so Dan's not going to
Dark Side of the Ring. You don't know.
See,
private
look, no, stop.
I'm hotter than
no surgery
Modine.
Necessary.
Okay. Well, then you said the wording you used means you got to cut it off to me, but all right. We'll see.
We'll just get you know what? We should move along really quick.
Probably, yes. So, Dark Side of the Dark Side of the Ring, Season 4, Episode 1, Chris and Tammy. So, I figure a good way to kick it off. Todd, you're older than me. A lot older. Way, way older. You were like 40, I think, when the body.
I'm 10 years older than you, Dan.
But how did you first sort of become a fan? Do you go way back to the beginning? Smoky Mountain, were you ECW, WWE? Like, how did you first become a fan of these two?
Well, ECW was after.
It was. I didn't know. I know you had a period where I think you said you weren't watching WWE, if I'm not mistaken.
95, but who was watching WWE in that horrible, horrible, shitty year of 95? I don't even think Vince watched that year. Was that the year he's off doing getting indicted?
92.
Okay, well,
91, 92.
He should have avoided 95 also.
But what's your history with these two?
Honestly, I mean, I might have seen them before, but my first memories are the Body Donnas.
Okay.
Because ECW was after. Because Candido was there. But so would be most people's introduction.
Okay. Yeah, that was I was a big PWI guy back in the day, so I already was aware of his work from Smoky Mountain.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember. I went to, I think, 2 Smoky Mountain shows, and I feel like I saw him. I don't remember Tammy, though. A lot of shows, a lot of memories running together, but at the time, he's probably just another guy. But I was always a big fan. He was, no gimmicks needed was always the tag they threw on him. And he is one of those guys that legitimately probably would have had a spot for many, many years had he not tragically died at 33, just based on his in-ring talent. I never knew him, but I think we've both known people who've worked with him, and I don't think I've ever heard a single bad word about Chris Candido, ever. And that's saying something in wrestling. A lot of bad words about Tammy, which we'll get into, but I don't think I ever heard anything negative about Candido. He made people look amazing. His work in WWF at the time was stellar. I remember the Barry Horowitz feud, which I thought was a fun little story they did, kind of giving Barry Horowitz that miracle victory over him. And he was somebody that he always worked. Obviously, Sonny was the one that launched him to success that he may not have otherwise had because he wasn't that typical WWE superstar look, although that was certainly evolving at that point, like you said, post-steroid trial and everything. But man, I just so captivating. And obviously I was a big Sunny fan too. She was the original internet superstar chick.
Oh, who always argues that? Fucking Cindy Margolis, I remember she used to always argue that fact because she said she didn't count for some reason because she wasn't a celebrity or some bullshit.
She was on national television.
I don't know. She used to always be on Howard Stern bitching about how it was her. She was really the one.
Yeah, there's, really, if you want to start a fight with old adult film stars, go into an argument over like who is the first like web-based adult superstar. There's a lot that'll fight with you. For me, it's Carol Cox, but that's another story. But
see, I thought it was Danny Ash.
It depends, and like I said, that's a longer debate. Maybe we've worked that into a show though.
Yeah,
because I actually feel like I could get Carol Cox on, but we'll see. There's a wrestling connection with her. She ran a promotion in Canada that Kevin Steen and a lot of others started in. But back to this, which we will somehow get back to adult film because that factors into this too.
Big T, I see your question. We'll just hold off on that one for a minute.
Okay, cool.
Well, I'm letting you finish your intro first.
But yeah, no, it just wow, did it work? What in the heat that she was able to get. I like that this episode showed some of those promos from Smoky Mountain that a lot of people maybe haven't seen before. The fact that she was essentially a character created to capitalize on the hatred in the South of Hillary Clinton. Smoky Mountain, dude. If you guys haven't gone back and watched some of the Smoky Mountain stuff on the network, you should. The Tammy promos to the Gangstas, like nearly inciting legit riots. There are wrestlers that say, I used to incite riots at the arenas. They actually incited riots. Shout out to our boy OJ. Like, I mean, some of that shit was gold, those Smoky Mountain promos.
I wish New Jack was breaking into business now. Can you imagine the reaction of GCW fucking wokes? Wow.
New Jack wouldn't laugh. New Jack would just whack Brett Lauderdale in the sack with a golf club on day one. There's no way he would survive woke GCW. But no, XPW. New Jack Schlack feud, come on, that would have been awesome. But yeah, no, you could see that star power. I've always said about Sunny, she ushered in the divas, and that's also something you can argue because again, you had Missy Hyatt and a lot of other people that they said, you could argue, well, did she really? But she was that bridge to that era.
Considering it's a WWE term, I'm going to say
yeah. Yeah.
Because there were women before her, and I get what you're saying, but I mean...
there were other sexualized characters before her, too.
There were.
So, I don't know. I want to give due where it's earned.
But here's the thing. It goes like this, though. If it happened on the small stage, it's not as meaningful if it doesn't happen on the big stage.
This is true, although... she kind of, when it hit its peak, she kind of was gone from WWE anyways, but
we'll get into the Sable stuff.
Yeah, kind of right at that explosion, but I've always put her over. She was a great character who got tons of heat and
Big T said Smoky Mountain was ECW without extreme violence. I've always said Paulie and Cornette are like basically the same person, except for that one slight difference philosophy and booking.
Yeah. But her as a character, she was fantastic. And she deserves all the credit in the world for, she deserved the Hall of Fame. She helped WWE at a time when, again, 95, 96, things were kind of like at their peak awful at that point in terms of business. We had good things going on, but in terms of business, she was one of those bright spots that really, helped lead us into the Attitude Era. And it's a shame she was such a fucking bitch, because I think she could have had a longer run. I like how this is really more of a Chris Candido episode than it is Tammy. The focus
needs to be.
Yeah, it focuses a little bit more on him. I feel you could still do a whole episode on Sonny.
You can, but the story's not done being told. That's the problem. See, and I know that's the reason they don't cover modern stuff. Like, you can't really cover the CM Punk thing, yet, because it's not done being told. That's why they said a lot of the newer stories they won't touch, because we don't know where Sonny's story is going to end. I mean, we all kind of do, but we'll talk about that as we go along.
Yeah. There's some footage for some of that, but they do a pretty good job. I always am left wanting more in these Dark Side of the Ring episodes, because an hour is a very short time to tell these stories. Sad episode for sure, because you just see like this genuinely nice guy again ask anybody that was in his orbit at any time. You're hard pressed to never in a shoot interview did I hear anybody say something bad about him. And that's rare in wrestling. You forget how young he actually was when he died, and what a freak thing that was. If he just didn't fly. Because I remember watching that TNA pay-per-view with the Naturals and the cage and everything, and when you hear he died, it's like, what? And it's something to do with an injury? I was like, what? He just injured his leg. I mean, how the hell did that lead to a death? And I think that's what's so sad about it, because I think at the time he had beat his demons.
Well, you never really beat him, but he was in a good place.
He was in a good place. He was looking good. Some of the indie work, and I did see him on an indie show somewhere around that time, where he was starting to look like shit. He was very much in a bad place post ECW and WCW for that matter.
Are we talking about his XPW run, which was not mentioned but 1 second in this goddamn show?
Yeah, that surprised me. WCW too. They didn't really go into that WCW run either, but I guess just again, you only got an hour, but he looked pretty rough, but you could see that spark coming back in TNA, and it's a shame it was cut so short. Because he's somebody, quite frankly, that could possibly still be doing it. I could very easily see him still be doing it to this day.
At the very least, a producer helping out in the back. I mean, his wrestling mind, would 100% be put to use. But I'm going to go flip side. Do you still think he'd be alive, though? Like, if he stayed with Tammy?
There's a double argument there. I mean, could he have evened her out? Probably not. I'm answering my own
Well, that
question.
one cop guy did for quite a long time.
Did he? I mean, maybe she wasn't arrested at that time.
Well, no, because then after that, like when she got into the Hall of Fame, when she was on Raw 20, I think it was.
She looked good. Yeah, she did look good.
And she did not look, like an addict. Yeah. Or you know what I mean, currently using, but
she's getting fucked by Dolph Ziggler, and life was good.
Well, I mean, maybe so. It's all Dolph's fault. If he wouldn't have if she would have stayed.
Dolph Ziggler has a cursed penis. Squared Circle Society news brief.
Well, it wasn't Amy Schumer, so I'm sure.
Maybe Dolph got it. Maybe it's a cursed vagina, and Dolph transferred it to Amy Schumer's vag is the reason why all of this went down. Yes. Cancel Amy Schumer's vag.
Hold on. Oh, well, here we go. You want to read this?
Big T, if he had stayed alive, he would have been the Kevin Federline of professional wrestling, while Sonny would be the Britney. They would have always been getting into trouble and fights. Well, you don't really hear a whole lot about Candido incidents, though.
No, he was still managed to.
Yeah, like he managed to stay above it. I mean, I'm sure plenty of times he was the guy that was like trying to like pull her away from shit, because this touches on it a little bit, but there's shoot interviews. His brother has some shoot interviews out there where he'd say like she would directly like she was just having a ball, like starting some fire and trying to drag, Chris or even Johnny into it. She was just really a wretched human being. So yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I mean, that as dark as that sounds, she might have put him in the grave anyways. But they were both addicts, you can't, just absolve him of, blame her for everything that he, got into. But I don't know. I just think she's one of those people. She was a danger for a long time, and it's a shame that somebody had to die for her to finally get justice, which she technically hasn't gotten yet, but certainly seems suspended license. She's going to be doing some harder time this go around.
The license has been suspended for years and years. That's part of the thing.
Yeah, she definitely wasn't supposed to be in a car, but I think she's at her last lifeline. At this point, it's just a question of whether she's going to be an old lady when she gets out, or, well, she probably will be no matter what, because I think about a decade is her best case scenario at this point. So you're not going to be seeing Tammy anytime soon.
A white woman.
Yeah, but dude, there's a lot of you got to look at that whole case. Like,
is it in
at
Florida?
A certain point, huh?
Is it in Florida?
Yeah.
She's gonna get like a fucking 60 days watch.
She's already had that. I don't know. I'm just
I'm
not a lawyer, but she's gonna do some hard time. It'll be interesting. She deserves 20 years, honestly. Oh, hey, Swaggy. So what did she do? Her license was just revoked, and she had many DUIs, many criminal trespassing, domestic violence, assaulting her boyfriend. There's lots and lots of legal messes over the years. Leading up to 2020, I guess, was the year. Leading up to that, they became more and more frequent as we went along. And she drove her car. She drove her boyfriend's car, so he's fucked. While just stupid, pass out drunk, and she killed a 75-year-old grandpa. That was, I can't remember if he was like picking up his grandkid, but just at a bus stop, just ran him down, killed him. So, pretty shit human being. At a certain point, you can't just, blame your demons for everything.
But there is the argument, though, that it is. That's the thing with addiction.
Yeah, but you can't. It is when somebody's dead.
Okay, there's a difference.
But when you kill somebody,
but there,
answer for it.
I'm not saying that. Be clear. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying it is the addiction. I mean, should she be held responsible? 100%, because that's still her. But
if you can't, you get to a certain point. If you can't pull it together, then you got to be in jail.
But what's the cutoff, though?
What do you mean? What's the cutoff?
Look at Razor. Look at.
Sure,
Jake.
but he never got anybody killed.
Yeah, that's true.
Never got anybody killed. I mean, if she wants to drink herself or take pills and, do drugs into oblivion, that's her business. But you got into a car, in an area where she could have called an Uber. She could have walked, especially this area. She definitely could have walked. Like there's just the selfishness.
That's the addiction.
And sure, that's the selfishness though too. You can go get your booze and just drink yourself stupid in your house.
No, but if you are drunk and you want to do something, you might just do it, even if you're not going to think about what's wrong.
I don't know. I'm the straight edge guy here for the most part.
I'm coming from the alcoholic's point of view.
But again, Scott Hall never killed anybody. Also, and I'll be perfectly honest, some are a little bit more sympathetic. Scott Hall, I'm sure there's plenty of people, and there are, that would say Scott Hall was a fucking dick. But compared to Sonny, Sonny,
why?
A lot of good people saying good things about her.
You know why? It's because she's a woman. Like, she would have been a go-getter if she was a guy, but because she has a vagina, it's like, oh, this fucking C word.
It depends who you're talking about.
Cliff Booth, eat a dick, Dan. Thank you. I totally forgot about that.
Well, yeah, that was a guy though that attacked him.
Yeah, but he killed it. But point, he did kill a guy.
Well, yeah, he did kill a guy, but in self-defense, that's a little bit different. I don't know. You're not going to find a lot of sympathy from me. She needs to be in jail for the next 20 years. She's out of lifelines, in my opinion. You let her out in 6 months, I think she'll do it again. Why wouldn't she? She's done, I think, at least a year in jail, I think. So if that's considered hard time, she's done that before. So you don't learn after that,
But at this point now, she can come up to the trial and that case dismissed. Or not even case dismissed, sorry, time served.
We'll see. She's going to get some time. You could be right. It could be another bullshit, I mean, I don't know what, a few years at least, but which I would consider bullshit, but I don't know, dude. I'm surprised you're on the Sonny defense train tonight because she stole your goddamn hot dog.
I'm defending the addict.
Okay. Well,
I'm trying to be, look at it from both perspectives.
Well, what would you do? You're judge and jury. What do you hit her with? AA is not going to fix what she's got, and she's done that before. So what are you going to hit her with?
I didn't know I was judging her today. So
you're the judge, Todd. You're Judge Todd.
I don't know. I'll send her to my basement.
Well, that's cruel and unusual, Todd. But you gotta give her something. What do you give her? I mean, what? You can't trust that she's not going to jump in some fuck buddy's car again and kill somebody else. So, what do you give her?
That's hard.
We're asking the hard question.
No, and I don't agree. She seems too far gone, but
it's a tough one. But see, that's just my thing. It's like somebody does get to that point where you got to lock them up or they're dangerous.
But see, because she should be theoretically clean right now.
Yeah, she's been clean before. She was in jail. I believe at least a year. I'd have to double check.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. So it's you never know if this is the one that's going to take. How many did it take for?
Well, I know. Do you gamble on that? I know if I lock her down for 10 or 20 years or whatever the max might be, which I believe is like 20 years. That's 20 years that she's definitely not going to hurt anybody. That would be my way of looking at it. I don't know. If it was like the first time thing, I guess you have to sort of make a really hard judgment there. But when somebody's dead, I don't know. That's just my feeling on it. Now, I've noticed a lot of like really nasty stuff that have kind of said like Chris Candido's dead because of her. That I don't agree with. They're both adults. And number one, Candido's death really was a freak thing. It wasn't. A lot of people seem to think watching this episode, they're like, wow, I thought he died of a drug overdose. No, it was just that whole blood thinners thing and flying, which I remember hearing about that back then and thinking like, man, I didn't even know that was a thing, that you couldn't fly with something like that.
It's not the blood thinners. The blood thinners thins the blood to prevent a clot.
Yeah, but it like traveled up.
No. Okay, well, I'm trying to explain to you how a blood clot works.
Yeah.
If he had been on the thinners, it would have prevented a clot.
Okay.
But like the flying and the altitude, it's going to clot. And that's why. Now, if you're on thinners, it prevents the clotting.
Yeah. The saddest part of this episode is when the mother, like he talked to her about it, like right before he went to bed and didn't wake up. I thought that was pretty sad. Not the most depressing Dark Side of the Ring is still Benoit's kid. Like that one is rough.
This one was up there though.
Yeah, it was. It didn't quite hit me at that level, but it was rough.
If it would have just been Chris, I think it probably would hit you harder. You're too busy getting mad at Sonny.
Yeah, maybe the hatred for Sonny now kind of clouded it.
I watched Sunny Side Up when it was done, so I don't know what you're talking about.
I think it ended up being just a bot, but after that happened, I was like fighting with some like bot that I thought was Sonny's account, which is funny in retrospect. I did call the bot the C word in that case because she was like, it was something about like an OnlyFans thing, and I was like, "You just killed somebody, you effing C word." And then I think it might have been you, Steak Sauce, who said like that's a bot.
Dan's arguing with bots now. Jesus Christ, isn't that what? No.
I didn't know. It looked like an official account, but it wasn't. So
did you join our OnlyFans, or did you have to cancel it?
Oh, if I was a member, I would definitely cancel it.
I might.
I mean, you get that extra month. I'm not saying I wouldn't have faffed to it a few more times, but she definitely wasn't getting a renewal. God damn it.
It's funny because we've all talked about doing it when she started it, but we've never pulled the trigger. Pugs was the closest.
I think once you saw Sunny Side Up, 15 years too late, that was kind of like, yeah, I'm good
20
now.
years too late. Okay, here's the thing with Sunny. Maybe I do have a little soft spot for her. I think I met her like 4 times in my life.
Did you get one of those bed?
No, I'm not a weirdo. I did. This is like one of the earliest. I can't remember because my buddy wanted to go. It was a signing at the Long Beach Tower Records WoW store, which if you don't know what that is, because they were a rare thing, a WoW store was half Tower Records, half Good Guys. So something that could only be around in the 90s. So that was the first time, and it was when they were doing I can't remember. I think they were just promoting the local house show, which was weird though because they did it in Long Beach and the fucking house show was in Anaheim. But whatever. So we went there to meet her, and I just remember my friend because this was like prime Sunny, like at the top. Yeah. Most downloaded internet, celebrity, whatever.
Yeah.
But I remember because it was my friend. My friend hated Sunny, hated her. And when we got there, he couldn't talk, so I had to like fucking push him. Talk, you stupid fuck. He was starstruck, but
then he fucked her.
No.
And got cursed.
No, we didn't know all we needed was a fucking baggie, and we would have fucking brought it. Shit.
Probably towards the end, and definitely when
trust me, when she was stealing my hot dogs in XPW.
Yeah, you got to tell that again. I know you've told it before, but she cut in front of you, right, and got the last hot dog.
Well, I don't know if it was the last hot dog, but I was waiting.
But it was your fucking hot dog.
It was my hot dog if she didn't cut in front of me.
You should have just picked her ass up, set her behind you, and said, "You wait," and then get your hot dog done. She was bigger at that point, so it might have taken some effort, but that was BBW Sonny era.
Todd supports BBW Sonny. 2020. Jesus, wait. Yeah, 2003. Jesus Christ, I had to look at the date. That was a long fucking time ago. Yeah, so. Oh, you want me to tell it? Yeah, okay. So it was XPW, My Bloody Valentine 2003, the fourth one. And I was politely waiting in line to get my hot dogs from the snack bar. And this bitch cut in front of me and bought the last 2 hot dogs. I shouldn't call her a bitch. But it was the 90s. That's what I said. This fucking bitch.
You should have just been like, "You really want to do that?"
Yeah. She wanted way more than 2 of my wieners, so.
Well, I know we can't talk about that, but I know there were a lot of wieners involved in XPW when it comes to Sonny. But
I remember. See, I'm tired of talking about Sonny. Let's talk about.
I wish we had somebody come on that actually did, but
I was gonna ask, but I thought.
I wonder which one would do it though. One I don't think would. I think one would if he was in the right mood. But yeah. So Chris Candido though.
Yes, I remember. Let's see. I'm going to go straight to XPW when he showed up. When he was in XPW, I remember when I got to see him at, and then there were 4. That was the show after. Well, yeah, because I saw him at but okay, he was the show before. But at this particular show, I remember being upset because it was the title match, and Sabu entered in the match, and I was disappointed because I would have rather wanted Candido with the belt. I remember for that whole year Sabu had, I was like annoyed. I used to just fucking talk shit to him every he was out there.
Do you ever lob a chair at your head?
No, it wasn't that serious. I was a nicer, angry fan then, I guess.
Well, you've been hit before. I'm surprised Sabu didn't put you in your place.
You can't put me in my place.
Well, yeah, no. I mean, Candido actually did some great shit in XPW. I mean,
yeah,
the WCW run was kind of like, There were so many people in WCW at that point. It's like,
I was excited for it though.
Yeah, no, I was too. He had at least a handful of really good matches in WCW. Sonny's star just. When it started to flicker out in WWE, honestly, she never got it back. I don't think.
No.
ECW, not really. I mean, she wasn't that kind. Even being a smaller audience, she still didn't have that same spark that she had
when they're playing the chants. She's a crack whore and all this shit.
You don't have to add allegedly to that one. But
we didn't know she smoked crack, but everything else we did.
But yeah, no, I mean, Sable Rose, and she faded away. I even remember being a fan, of course, back then, and thinking like, why aren't they doing more with Sonny? And they don't really go into this in this particular episode, but I always heard Linda McMahon fucking hated her with a passion, and that was part of it. Once she kind of, faded out and had that kind of reputation, I had heard that just Linda McMahon just hated her guts, because I really thought she might get another run in WWE around the Hall of Fame induction, because she was close to looking like old school Sonny.
She was. She just looked a little older.
Yeah, a little older, but looking good. You go back and watch that induction. I mean, and I was all for it. I was like, shit, put her with somebody that needs a rub. Try and create that same magic that she had with Candido. Really good wrestler that might just need that little extra something to ascend. honestly, Dolph Ziggler might not have been bad, although I'm trying to remember, he might have been with Vicky at that point. But Big T, I saw Sunny at the Raw 15th anniversary. She got pop of the night. No doubt about it. She was huge. But I don't remember the same level of reactions after that. Like it was kind of like her time had passed in WCW.
Did she do anything after the Raw 15th?
Well, I mean, just indie stuff at that.
Oh, no. Okay. In the, well, an indie pop's different than
WWE. Yeah. No.
I thought she like came back again. I was like,
no, she was done at that. Well,
didn't she?
You had the Battle Royal, the WrestleMania Battle Royal, which
with no one got an entrance and no one even knew who half the women were because they all looked like.
Really, probably one of the worst WrestleMania matches ever. Not just, I mean, the match was what it was, but just the way that was put together. It's like, okay, so we're not even giving these returning names nostalgia pops. You hear their music, like, what's the point of this? Kid Rock, I think it was, just sang over it all. It was awful.
If you're gonna do that, just do one, fade it. Next one, come on, do it. Just give that initial pop.
Yeah,
it would have slowed it down some, but it would have been better than the way they did it.
Yeah, it would have. That was just ill-conceived, but they do go into, and I remember watching this and thinking, like, man, this is a bummer. Tammy's tell-all cringe fest interview on ECW, directed by Paul Heyman. You could still tell that Jim Cornette, making the Asylum version of Cornette. Jim Cornette was still kind of a little bit pissed about that. Like, you could kind of see it in his face.
Yeah, when it came back up, yeah, you could definitely. But you'd also see how much he really cared about her.
Yeah, he did. Although I'll tell you, look, you go back and listen to his podcast right after she had killed the guy. He wasn't mincing words. He said, like, you know, you gotta pay for this now. You gotta go to jail probably for a long time. There is no comeback for her at this point.
No.
That there in wrestling, there is no comeback. Like, honest to God, if I were, and call me an asshole, but if I was at a show and she came out, I would get a take her keys chant going.
Now I just want to book her for that.
And I would not feel bad about it for a minute.
Why would you? I've never felt bad during a chant, even those that have gotten me punched in the face.
You got to get punched by a modern day XPW star now.
Nah, I'm good. All the little indie, yeah, they hit like bitches. So
TJ Perkins might slap you at some point because he's tired of your shit, Tad.
What the?
TJP is just gonna like super kick your hot dog out of your hands and into the trash, Todd. That's what's gonna happen.
Well, I wish he lived his old TNA gimmick. Then how's that?
Oh, all right. We're not gonna elaborate on that one. So Jesus. Yeah.
Chris, let's talk about Chris. This fucking bitch.
What's your favorite match? He had some great stuff with Jerry Lynn, which, granted, at that time it's impossible to have a bad match with them. He always, if not match of the night, it was close, man. I mean, the tag stuff with Lance Storm.
Yeah.
My God, can you imagine Candido and Storm against FTR right now? Can you? I mean, give them a fucking hour. Like, it would just be awesome. When people ask me like greatest tag teams of all time, there's a lot of obvious choices to that, you know, Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express, and so on. But I always bring up Candido and Storm. Like, those two right now, tag team champions in AEW or WWE, even though they don't take tag wrestling very seriously.
Big T. Dream match.
Chris Candido versus Bryan Danielson. That might have taken place.
That's what I was just thinking too. I'm looking at it.
I feel like, well, I can't say I've ever seen it, but
I'm gonna see if it exists.
Yeah, and that might have also have been in his dark period, though, too. Actually, it probably would have been, unfortunately. But, I mean, Candido definitely would have been one of those guys if he was working the Indies, 15 years later, that would have shown up in NXT and would have had like that Robert Roode run where he just probably would have had a much bigger run, then probably would have crapped out on the main roster because they didn't know how to use Robert Roode. But
Candido is better than Roode.
Roode is good, dude. I mean,
he is, but I still think Candido is better.
They're actually kind of comparable though, too, because they were always really adaptable. Like they could just have a really good match with anybody. You look at what Roode did in TNA, where he might have been working a luchador and, he could change it up and just have really compelling matches. I will say 2 of the more underrated guys, although Roode had a little more success, I guess, than Candido, depending how you look at it. But yeah, man. And I don't know, this one, it ends kind of leaving you wanting more. Doesn't make Heyman look good because they do go into the debt that Chris and Tammy had when
that's the one thing that's
well,
they couldn't buy drugs then. Good for him. I'm making Paul the hero now.
I did it for them. I killed ECW for Candido. But yeah, man. It's a rough.
But to be fair, timeout. Paul Heyman owed everyone money. Wasn't just Chris and Tammy.
We heard that story about Tommy Dreamer. I mean, holy shit. Like, I was just going to pop him and then do my pose and pop myself like at WrestleMania. And Vince would be in the headset. Jim, the show must go on.
Ask Dream if he wants to call it with you.
You would have had Paul face down on the desk and like Jim Ross just like what
Can someone get Cole out here?
Please. He's just sitting there like trying to call like a fucking like R-Truth match while Heyman's getting put on the meat wagon. Show must go on, pal.
And then they could stick him in the AEW game after
it. There you go. Oh man, I'm not saying that tell-all interview was like Melanie Pillman level cringe, but it was pretty damn close. I think the Melanie Pillman interview, like right at that was just like, what are you doing? Like even as a kid at that point,
Vince being combative, it's like, yeah, it was a bad look.
That was probably one of the shittiest things Vince ever did. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that with recent things that have come out, but definitely still one of the shittiest things that Vince ever did. But yeah, I like this. And I will say in closing, because we do actually have more to cover here on this episode, go back and watch some of Candido's matches. You really can't go wrong.
Even the Barry Horowitz stuff, like you brought up earlier,
I loved that shit because number one, Barry Horowitz was a really good wrestler. So those two had some good matches, some really good matches. And that was a really cool story. I remember watching that, and we all love a good underdog story. And
we all knew who Barry Horowitz was, and we all knew what his job was. So
yeah. He's made recent appearances for Impact, which I think is pretty cool. He still looks good. So in closing, Tammy declined to be interviewed for this. Probably a good move, in all honesty.
I could have gave her a few beers. She would have showed up.
Yeah, I'm sure. They close with Bale hearing footage just from last month. So That's where that is. I do think you have plenty to do another Sunny episode. I hope they do, because
maybe, like I said, maybe waiting a few years because the story's not done.
Yeah, I mean, I think if she gets locked up for
then it's still not done.
It's not done, but it's effectively done. I mean,
not even close. If she gets locked up, she can come out in 5 years and go kill 4 more people.
That is true. Hopefully,
there's no definitive end until one of 2 things happens.
Hopefully, more than 5 years. And kudos to a guy like Tom Pritchard at the end. I mean, you could tell. I don't think he necessarily hates her, but he's like, I hope she stays in jail. That's kind of how I feel about it at the end of the day. But like most things, like Chris Benoit and all these other stories, I can still go back and enjoy her work. Like I said, go watch some of the Smoky Mountain stuff that you very likely haven't seen. The fat shaming promo. It's like, with my guidance, you can be an acceptable human being. That was that was funny as shit. So good start.
We got a question.
We do. Big T, say she does her time in jail and she gets out. Do you think an individual like DDP could help her? She's a different case. I mean, she doesn't need to rehab her body. Because like Jake Roberts, I know it wasn't just physical stuff, but Jake Roberts, Scott Hall, all these other people he helped had their bodies had fallen apart. Hers is more mental, so I don't know. Mental, emotional, whatever. I don't know that DDP is the guy to fix that. I think a long prison sentence might be, and some therapy, hopefully too, might be the best hope. If anything, I mean, some people just, I don't know if she wants the help. You know what I mean? Like, you go back and look at some of those podcasts that she did, some of the You Shoot stuff. I just get bullshit vibes. Like, I don't know that.
It's hard when you're talking with an addict because you don't know who you're talking to.
Yeah, and she's a good bullshitter, obviously. So maybe she meant it. Who knows? But we'll see. We'll see. A good start to this season. I believe Magnum TA, I'm pretty sure, is the next episode. We're going to cover all of these, probably usually Sunday, but, it ended up being Monday.
Yeah, that was my fault. We got one more question we'll do before we move on.
Yeah, we do have another actually wrestling related at the same time. Big T, favorite Chris Candido match and personal favorite Sunny moment. With Candido, I'd have to think. If I did a top 10, I'll put some in the comments later, but I'll tell you, there'd probably be more than a few tag matches with Lance Storm.
Yeah, that run was really good.
Yeah, that was, I mean, you could argue maybe he was never better than he was at that time. But I at the time, that Barry Horowitz thing, to be honest, I mean, I wouldn't say it's like his best match or anything, but that was a big moment.
That TNA run was good too.
Yeah. Yeah, the TNA run was the start of, I think, of something really good.
Yeah, you could see, you can see the old Candido. It's
Yeah, I'll drop some matches in the comments after. Drop your favorite Candido matches and Sunny moments in the comments. I'd be curious. Give people who find this video a guide of stuff to go look up.
It's absolutely when she sang "Happy Birthday, Mr. President" or the "Tickle Me Elmo" segment.
There you go.
I'm lying. It's when she stole my wiener.
She took that wiener, Tad. She took that wiener and she ran with it.
All right.
If I'm hungry enough, I don't care how hot you are. I'm like, that is my fucking wiener, bitch.
Get your hands off my wiener, Sunny.
That's what you should have done. You should have just You remember those Henry Winkler commercials where it's like if somebody tries to touch your wiener, you just go, ah. That's what you should have done. You should have just walked right up to her and just started doing that as loud as you can, Todd. That's what you should have done. Then you would have had like Axel Rotten or something like just come out from the back and like let go of his wiener, and they would have like whacked it with a barbed wire bat.
He was wrestling for the XPW European Championship versus Super Crazy.
There you go.
Which is a title that has not made its return yet. But what if it makes its return when XPW UK starts?
It pretty much has to, right? You make that the world title down there. So, yeah.
Oh, I know. We're gonna have to.
Hopefully. All right.
Hopefully, Rob. I'm sure he will. Talks about this on his podcast, which hopefully we're not going over at the same time as.
It happens. It
does.
All right. So next up. So Todd, big part of my childhood, I would imagine even more so for you, American Gladiators, the ESPN 30 for 30 documentary, 2-part documentary.
Also, coincidentally, produced by Vice.
Produced by Vice, yes. I will say Vice does some damn good docuseries.
Yeah.
Some really good stuff. And I'm not the biggest sports guy outside of wrestling. But I'm told some of the like football shit they do, and
I know
really good too.
With the Dark Side brand, I just finished the second season of Dark Side of the 90s, which are all 90s stories. Really good one.
Mm-hmm.
And they also have a Dark Side of Comedy, which I haven't checked out yet. So, Jim Belushi, John Candy, people like that.
Ooh, now that I'd actually be interested in checking out. Very interested, actually. I'm going to have to remember to DVR some of those.
Yeah. You can just go on to the Vice app on your Roku and just log them with your credentials. That's how I watch them.
Okay. I'm going to definitely check that out, actually. So, yeah, American Gladiators, 2-part documentary. I watched American Gladiators. I was a big fan. I never really knew anything about what went into the making of it and how it was conceived and all of the epic drama that is covered over this, with parts 1 and 2, basically almost 3-hour doc. But before we get into that, Todd, how did you first discover American Gladiators? Because I assume you watched it back in the day.
Well, back then, syndicated TV, you flipped around on the weekend, you found something cool, and this just happened to be what popped up. And yeah, just flipping through the channels. I don't remember. Maybe I saw commercials for it. I don't even remember. I just remember it was on KCAL 9, and yeah, that's where I checked it out.
Yeah.
I mean, already being a wrestling fan of that era, you got big costumes, like it was, I don't want to say it was the same market, but you're going after like that. I don't even want to say the superhero market, but it is kind of like that real life superhero thing going on, which, they have in common.
It's not a stretch to say if you were watching pro wrestling back then, you were probably watching American Gladiators too. I don't think it'd be a big stretch. It was Bill Clinton's favorite show.
Well, hey, hopefully he was getting head while he's watching.
It was. He was just like diddling an intern with a cigar while he was like, "Oh, Atmosphere, my favorite."
I'm just gonna say that
uses the wrong end. He just hears her scream. Oh shit! Sorry.
That might be the most like 90s moment ever.
Yeah. So I mean, American Gladiators, the first like sports reality competition show blended with game show. I mean, it was a really compelling concept. And as we go along in this doc, we have a former Elvis impersonator named Johnny Ferraro, who was the creator of American Gladiators. Although as we go on, we kind of learn that he kind of stole it from a guy named Apache Dan Carr. who
Oh yeah, total carny. I could totally see him in the wrestling business too. Not Dan Carr, but well, him too, but for different reasons. I'm talking about the carny.
when they show like some of that old like 70s, early 80s footage of Dan Carr, that dude looked like he could fucking end you.
I was waiting to see his fucking tag match with the Road Warriors. Shit.
Yeah, I was a scary looking dude. So as we go through this doc, we kind of learn that Johnny Ferraro really kind of took advantage of Dan Carr. No idea that there was a form of the show that started in the early 80s. It was all conceived with these sort of, I guess you would just call them barbecues / unofficial like tests of strength that these steel workers did in Erie, Pennsylvania, which Erie, Pennsylvania, I guess is the home of American Gladiators. That's, where Dan Carr was. And they used to do these competitions essentially just for the steel workers and their families and there's footage of it. Like they would just climb like up 200 feet on a pole without like any kind of safety harness, doing this crazy shit, just wrestling. You see kind of like the early genesis of what the actual games would become. And I didn't know anything about this. I thought that part of it I thought was really, really cool. This will be a love fest, by the way. Even if you're unfamiliar with American Gladiators, I feel this is a doc that's compelling enough that will make you want to go back and watch that stuff, which I don't know where American Gladiators might be streaming or anything.
It is streaming currently on Pluto TV. They have the first 3 seasons.
Okay. They were canceled after 7, I believe.
So we need 4 more of the original run. I'm just waiting for well, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll definitely.
They couldn't have timed it out better for this documentary to hit either. It's like the XPW relaunch. They perfectly set it up with the dark side. Now they're getting.
Well, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but
that's what I'm saying. We'll get there.
Yeah, because I don't think it would necessarily work now. We'll get to it. So the beginning really kind of runs down the time period that we're in at this point. The idea of that really Dan Carr had of creating people seeing like Rocky Balboa in the flesh, a real Rocky Balboa going up against these hardcore gladiators and seeing if they can rise to fame. This really highlights the actual cast of the American Gladiators, but they also do a really good job of showing some of the guys that competed and won and became superstars. There's a good rundown of all these guys' lives and where they're at now, and women as well.
Well, most of them, some of them.
Yes, there's a lot that refuse to be interviewed. Again, Johnny Ferraro. What I did not realize, and this is wild, those guys on American Gladiators, and if you're unaware of how big that truly was at the time, they had video games, they had action figures, trading cards, lunch boxes. There was tours. They had all sorts of shit going on. Those guys made $25,000 a year, and no cut of any merchandise.
And you thought the WWE F deals in the 80s were bad.
When I heard that, I was like, I mean, granted, I guess that 25K went a little further than it would now, but
I'm going to do the math.
Still, like, goddamn, they got fucked. I had no idea. I mean, I knew these guys weren't getting like 7 figures or anything like that, but like, surely they're getting like $100K or something.
And they were getting
$25,000 a year. And as we go through this, some of them suffered pretty horrific injuries. you forget at this time some of the safety regulations and everything wasn't the same. There's footage of Darren McBee, of course, went on to some acting fame, where he got just booted off the joust, or not joust, when they do the zip line.
That's the joust.
Yeah, the zip line where it kicked him off and he like had that horrific concussion.
Oh, I was thinking about my favorite part.
Yeah,
was what's his name? When he's talking about being all excited, the old gang member talking about being all excited to beat up the cop.
Saber,
Yeah,
Lynn Red Williams. Yeah, they had the LAPD episode, and it's cool going back and watching that, knowing the backstory, because his nephew was like killed by a cop.
No, he was like, he was straight blood gang. I mean, like off the street, straight to Gladiators. That's
what I also loved about this doc is the behind the scenes footage. You see them in the back, not literally fucking, but you see some of them obviously like hooking up and getting patched up in medical. It's a great peek behind the curtain. It really is. Cliff Booth, did they interview Mike the Natural O'Hearn? They did, actually. He did pop up in that briefly. He's not like I don't think he's a big focus, but so like they really cover a lot in this, guys. I was really impressed because, I loved American Gladiators, but at the same time, I'm thinking like this could have just been a boring doc.
Oh, currency calculator in 2023, that's about $61,000.
Is it that high? Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But still, I mean, there's no doubt for what
for a national TV star making $60,000 a year. That's
and not getting any merch cut. Like maybe you do, that's your base pay, and then you get like a lot more through merch. But yeah, they were screwed. I mean, I had a lot of that American Gladiator shit. I love that. So
yeah, you have a little helmet and the joust gimmick.
I don't remember having the joust gimmick. I had the trading cards. I had the video game.
I think
I know I had a shirt. If I could find it, it'd be a physical photo. But
what were you like 3 years old when it started?
Yeah, 3 or 4 probably when it started. But man, those are early memories. But I remember watching American Gladiators all the time.
So I was 13 when it started, so that makes sense why I didn't have. I did play the video game.
Well, that's still the right age. Yeah,
I wasn't gonna go fucking at 13 go buy a bunch of fucking joust gimmicks and play outside with my friends. Unless we could somehow tape 40s on those. I don't know. I'll figure it out.
It's not too late. You and Caesar have a joust.
We can play Edward 40 hands when you're down here now.
Damn.
Sorry.
I don't drink. I'm not going to do Edward 40.
Okay, I'll
remember what happened to you yesterday, Todd. God damn it.
Well, that was 3. I'm going down to 2 now.
Oh, Jesus. So I mean, there's some of it's depressing, but for the most part,
not as depressing.
As
the Candido one.
See, I had heard a lot of the Gladiators were just in awful situations. Now one guy is. Which we'll get into, but they run down their life stories. Darren McBee, Malibu, who contacted me years ago on Facebook about possibly being in one of the movies I was working on, which is crazy. I went back to find that message, and I was like, oh shit, yeah. I was like, yeah.
Well, now you got to message him back. Be like, no, but you want to come on the podcast?
He might. And if you're not familiar, Darren McBee, I guess Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I forget his character name, but he was a heavy in a lot of stuff.
He's very familiar. I mean, just like when I saw him in the doc, I immediately knew him from American Gladiators. But then when they're showing the footage, I was like, I forgot he did that, but I remember him in it. I just didn't connect them a lot of the times, I guess.
and had three, I believe he said 3 professional wrestling matches as Malibu. What I didn't know this at all, but he talks about his
Makes sense
life
though.
story. He and his wife were working towards a WWE contract. I don't know how far that was, or where that was at. But his wife, if I recall from the doc, had some sort of issues with, I think it was, I assume a boob job or something, and had some sort of medical issue and just died, like freak thing, and it sort of sent him into a tailspin, because then he suffers a really bad injury doing a stunt, and luckily he seems to be one of the good ones now that he's doing quite well.
He's not having a cloudy day, man.
He is not. He seems to be doing all right. Gemini, we focus a lot on him, and he talks about how rough it was on his family, trying to quit at one point, and basically being told by Johnny Ferraro nobody cares about Michael Horton. They only care about Gemini. Like, who are you if you quit? I thought that part, they really set up Johnny Ferraro as somebody pretty detestable. Now, there's more to it, though, as you go along, and I won't spoil that, but this doc doesn't end necessarily like you think it would end.
Yeah, the end, I wasn't expecting it. I thought the way they built to it, we weren't going to get it.
Yeah, there's a lot of mystery because it's set up where they're not able to interview Dan Carr, and you don't fully know why. And that story kind of unravels as you go through the doc, because it's like, wait, why can't we talk to Dan Carr? What's going on here?
Well, the one thing that John Fierro says is he has his life stories right.
Ferraro.
Yeah, life story right. So like, they can't do it without his permission, right?
Which must have been bullshit, because I was a little confused with that, because I was like, okay, so then how were they able to? Yeah, there was. I had a couple questions about that myself. Again, I don't want to give away everything, but we do spoilers during this, so it's obviously they do get to him. But the whole journey that this doc was, I was really impressed. I would buy this on physical media. Like, that's how impressed I was of the quality of the doc. Definitely one of the best docs I've seen this year, and I love a good doc.
And it's funny because just watching part 1, like, damn, this is I don't know how it can get better. Then I watched episode 2.
Yeah, no, it was. I was very impressed with this. I really, really loved this documentary. I thought it was just stellar. And like I said, even if you're out there and you're unfamiliar, maybe you're a little bit younger and Gladiators wasn't really a thing for you, check this out anyways. It's worth it. It's a great story.
It's streaming right now on ESPN Plus if you have that. I mean, yeah. I have mine with the Disney bundle. If not, I believe you can still watch it on the website if you have like a cable login. Mm-hmm. So,
and what I thought was really cool is they also go into American Gladiators being pitched by Johnny to Orion Pictures as a movie concept in '84, and they tracked down some people that he pitched to, which a lot of that kind of spans over time. He's still trying to make an American Gladiators movie.
And it was and who was he? Who do we have interviewed? Who was he pitching to? It was Big Writer.
The screenwriter. Well, if you go a little bit later, the screenwriter of Point Break.
There we go.
And they talk a little bit about the concept of that movie, which I thought was really, really cool. They cram a lot into here because it's a lot of it is Johnny and Dan Carr's relationship, what happened.
That's really the focus of the second episode.
Yeah, and you see some of the Gladiator tryouts. This really was something that I feel like I wish they could get the gladiators that weren't interviewed so that we could kind of just see like where they're at now. They glaze over it a little bit. There's some footage, there's some like audio from interviews that they did. But yeah, I mean, you certainly understand why they didn't opt for to be interviewed on anything that Johnny was involved in. But yeah.
The one thing that they made a point of saying, and it's, this show was, created because of the writers' strike. I mean, that's the only reason it got greenlit. The 88 writers' strike gave us the first go round. And then the one most of us forget is the 2008 revival, which they do bring up. God, I forgot Hogan hosted it. That show was so bad.
Well, even that Gladiators 2000 thing they were getting ready to do with Ryan Seacrest hosting, which there's footage of like Ryan Seacrest at that point, probably not too far away from when Idol started.
You're not kidding. But it's like, well, then why don't I just watch fucking Double Dare? You know what I mean? At that point, that show was always I didn't get the why bother, I guess.
Yeah.
And then they bring up the last, potential revival. Well, they didn't bring up the 2014 one or the 2018 one. That I think the 2018 one. Yes, the 2018 one was the Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg one that didn't happen for the 30th anniversary, but it didn't happen. So
I feel like you will
WWE
see an attempt at this again, but the problem is, and they talk about it, like some of the old gladiators talk about it, where they said like it wasn't Smash Mouth anymore. Part of the appeal was that impact, because you go back and watch Gladiators, you forget how violent that was. I mean, they would just fucking demolish you. Like it was a rough show. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily a good thing, but if you're not doing that, I kind of feel like, well, what's the point? How is this any different from just American Ninja Warrior now, or whatever, or some of these other shows that
I was going to say Wipeout, but yeah,
Wipeout to a degree, I guess.
I think I don't watch American Ninja Warrior. Well, I don't watch Wipeout either.
My nieces and nephews.
But does that one have like gladiators per se? Like, okay.
No.
Okay. So like, that's the one thing that would be missing, your opposition coming at you.
And that I think is part of the appeal.
Yeah.
That it's just the everyman trying to conquer these like Greek gods and goddesses.
It would have to be bubble wrapped, like Wipeouts always looks soft.
Yeah.
Or like Double Dare with the foam.
Yeah, it would be downgraded for sure.
And especially the last one that was pitched, the WWE one that was supposed to have like workers on there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see WWE anyway involved in it.
See, the sad thing about that though, it depends who you get. Like being a WWE superstar doesn't necessarily mean you're tough. I mean, I hate to you're tough to a degree, but you know what I mean? Like,
tell me more, Dan.
If you're not going to stick a smaller guy up there. How many people look like the old school gladiators in WWE now? It's a small list. I mean, think about it. Like,
no, you're not wrong.
How many like giant jacked fucking machines are there now? There might be just enough to do it, but
let's be real. That's not who WWE is going to send over. They're like, who are we using?
Well, that's but
send over Zack Ryder. Oh wait, we fired him.
Like Seth Rollins, like, I'm sorry, your average dude could probably have a pretty solid shot of mowing through Seth Rollins in that sort of. I'm not saying he's not a great athlete, but the old school gladiator stuff, I don't know. The appeal wouldn't be the same. Now you throw out like a Ryback or Jackson Riker, or like just some like insane, or Omos. That would actually be entertaining. I guess.
But see, the thing for me is like it loses what it is once it's network. Then it becomes corporate. When it was syndicated, it was the Wild West. They could do what they want. Now in 2023, it's going to be so sanitized. But you know what? I'm all for, give it another go. Fuck it. We're in the middle of a writer's strike. They need programming. I suspect it could happen now with the documentary and people like loving it.
Yeah, I think it's time to give it a shot. There were some dumb things, some dumb characters that they were trying with that Hulk Hogan reboot that just didn't quite work. Even I remember being excited, and I think I watched maybe one or two, and then I was like, yeah, this is not the same. I tuned it out pretty quickly. And that is a good point that you brought up earlier. Like, writer's strikes are what brought it back. So
every time.
And what was it? 88,
2008, and now 20.
Now would be the time for it to happen again.
So I don't know. I was going to say there was some positive coming out today, so we may be ending that. But
really? I haven't really paid attention to news today.
Well, it dominates the California news cycle. So if I have it on local,
yeah.
We got theme parks news, and we got that.
I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with it. I don't think it's done. I don't think Johnny's gonna get his movie, although I
want that now.
I like the meta approach where it was like the gladiators are all washed up and they have to just go and save a kid somewhere. I think that would,
right?
I don't know. It just kind of feels like he's pitching something you would have had in the 80s or 90s, though.
That's what I wanted.
That you probably just aren't going to get now.
I know we're not, but come on, Dan. Be positive.
They'll have the gladiators, and then they'll have like, all right, we need to put Zac Efron in there, and a few names like that to make it work. Throw in a love interest.
The Rock will be one of the gladiators. Baywatch reboot or reunion.
There you go.
Yeah.
So this gets my highest recommendation. If you remember the show, you're going to fall in love with it
and want to watch this show.
Yeah, and if you're not, it's still very worth watching. You have the one guy who sadly suffered a lot of health stuff. You can't put all of that on gladiators. Obviously, there was,
but we can put it all off on Sonny and not the alcohol. Okay.
Sonny is a fucking bitch, dude. Hot dog stealing.
She was always nice to me.
Yeah, well, just you never ran into her while she was driving, so
or vice versa.
So, guys, we will be back next week with the Magnum TA episode, and maybe depending what else is going on in the world of wrestling. And we are going to be live this Wednesday with Flesh Wound Horror. We're going to be reviewing Subspecies 5. The Boogeyman, which I just recently got back from right before the show. What else do we got?
Exorcism in Utero.
Amityville Curse, not the 1990 film, but yet another new Amityville movie. So that's a sign of quality.
Oh, and I got another one, Dan, that we might have to bring back the other series for.
Yeah, what I know, and I know what it is because I saw it on there. Amityville Emmanuel, is that?
Oh yeah, you know what it is. Yeah, we have to cover that shit.
Yeah, you're not even fooling me. you take out the Amityville maybe, but
yeah. we're definitely covering that one, Dan.
Amityville Mount Misery Rose. I still have Nom flashbacks to that movie. That movie is, I'm not kidding, maybe the worst movie ever made. Like, it is a candidate, and I don't throw worst ever.
Yeah,
it's there. It's right up there with Axum.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only thing worse in life would be to like watch them on two screens. Like right now, you see me and you. If one was Axum and the other was fucking Mount Misery Road, I might have to TJ Perkins. Yes, I just made a new code for that.
Yeah, that. Oh, God damn. But yeah, we will be live Wednesday. That should be a really good show. I think there's a lot to talk about. I'm really excited to talk about Subspecies 5, which
I'm excited to watch it.
We got a nunsploitation show dropping soon, which I'm also very excited about. I think you guys will enjoy that. We've got some more, a lot of After Dark content as always coming your way. And yeah, is all.
I was just saying SCS will be back on Sundays.
Yes, that'll be back on our regular night of Sunday. Patreon.com/fleshwound features. It all starts at just $1. You really help us out, and we appreciate it. So on that note, don't steal hot dogs and don't drive drunk. That is the moral of this podcast.
And never trust an Elvis impersonator. Dan, say goodnight.
Good night, guys.